We've ranked the levels of the prequel trilogy and the original trilogy over the past 2 weeks. So today, we're finally ranking the 15 sequel trilogy levels in LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. What's ended up being one of the most controversial additions to Star Wars doesn't seem to fare a whole lot better in this game. I unfortunately just didn't find the same level of enjoyment in a number of these levels as I did with the prior 2 trilogies. Anyways, without wasting too much time, let's jump into the rankings for the 15 sequel trilogy levels of the Skywalker Saga. Number 15, They Fly Now. The addition of the third-person shooter gameplay added within the game was actually a really nice touch. The thing is, I felt it worked as a good complement to the already well-established LEGO game mechanics. Having a level be nothing more than a 2 to 3 minute on-the-rails shooter just felt so out of place in this game. I figured the segment in the cave would be a part of the mission, but it wasn't. It just felt too fast and kinda stupid, to be honest, and left no real impression. Out of all 45 levels in the game, this easily sits at the lowest possible spot for me. Number 14, Reap What You Solo. In the movie, this whole segment served as a means to alert Kylo and the First Order of BB-8's whereabouts, and most importantly, the involvement of his father, Han Solo, in the overall story. I actually really liked The Force Awakens, but this was one point in the movie I just didn't care much for. I was hoping that the game would gloss over this encounter, seeing as it wasn't that important to the story as a whole, but we wound up getting a level of it. To its credit, I did like the way they sort of split up and kind of differed the playing styles between Rey and Finn's group and Han and Chewie's. There were also some cool alternate routes that could be taken through the level, but all in all, I just didn't care for the way they went about this mission. Number 13, Chrome Dome Down. The Last Jedi is easily my most disliked Star Wars movie. The new LEGO game doesn't seem to give it any new layers, and certainly suffers the most due to the plot and environments of the film. After the first boss level against Phasma from The Force Awakens, I had a good deal of hope for her rematch with Finn in the back end of The Last Jedi. Unfortunately, her boss fight goes back to the more recent boss fight mechanics of building and completing puzzles to fight the boss instead of actually fighting them. After all the creative and cool boss fights seen through the game, this was disappointing, and I spent the entire mission just wanting to get through it and move on. Number 12, Ground Assault. There's 2 parts to this level, none of which really felt that exciting or rewarding. Again, it's easy to see this as a fault on the actual movie, as the level does what it can to loyally follow the events of The Last Jedi. There isn't much about Finn's escape through the caves of the base that really stick out to me, and again, this mission pushed me to want to just get through it as fast as possible. The battle between Luke and Kylo is nothing more than a quick-time event, as Luke repeatedly dodges Kylo's attacks. It's just a letdown on both sides of the level, but in fairness to the developers, I feel most of the blame for this should fall on the actual film and not the level design. Number 11, Poetic Flying. I really enjoy the flying and space missions within this game. That's certainly been no secret through these ranking videos. But that being said, this level did not do it for me. While the jumps at the end of this level were cool, it overall felt like a chaotic mess in comparison to many of the other flight missions in the game. It also just felt too linear to me, not giving the same options and freedom many of the other space levels seem to allow. Number 10, Master Code Breakout. Yeah, I really wasn't a fan of a lot of the missions included for The Last Jedi. I didn't hate the way that this mission plays, but it just felt unnecessary. I'm glad the game did what it could to keep Finn in the limelight, as he was my favorite of the 3 protagonists of the sequels. However, his entire plotline just felt stale in the movie, and this mission suffered the same. This wasn't the normal stealth mission that the game had shown us before, and fell more along the lines of how LEGO used to do stealth in their games, having you perform small tasks to get NPCs' attentions so that they'll let you into a certain closed-off room. I don't think that this mission was bad, I just didn't really care for it. Number 9, First Order of Business. I originally loved this level when it started. One of the major issues that The Force Awakens faced through this game is that every mission has a comparably far better counterpart from the LEGO Force Awakens game. The stealth segments as Poe and Finn were fun to play, and I liked having the different routes and methods to explore and sneak through the First Order ship. The level was just far too short in my opinion, and while I was initially willing to look past it for a part of the mission being Poe and Finn's escape in the TIE Fighter, we as the players never get to fly it, instead watching it get shot down and crash in a single cutscene. Number 8, C-3PO No. When the stealth for this mission got introduced, I was initially excited for it. I'd put in nearly 16 hours for this game by this point, so getting something new felt exciting. The issue I felt came from the fact that I didn't feel like there was any real challenge to it. The level is divided into 3 to 4 small segments, but all the segments up until the last all felt super linear, with there really only being one path through. At this point in the game, I feel they really could have pushed the second segment up to the first, and made a middle ground between that and the last, and then given us the last segment. By the time the game was offering us space and options that made the stealth in this level fun, it was over. Number 7, Low-Flying Garbage. This was a good level that again got overshadowed by its counterpart from the LEGO Force Awakens game. I like the semi-open area you get to fight in during the opening sequence of the level, and like the flight and scenery when the Falcon soars through the wreckages along the deserts of Jakku. It's a short and fun level that's enjoyable to play and doesn't drag on or feel too short. Number 6, Be With Me. The final boss fight against Palpatine isn't actually a boss fight against Palpatine. The way the game worked these larger brawls Rey and Kylo had with the guards and Knights of Ren was fun to do and really translated well. Unfortunately, much like the movies, the Knights don't stand out much as we know very little about them, and they feel just as faceless as the guards. The level also just sort of suffers from having the same thing already done in Episode 8. The battle isn't bad, but just feels like a rehash of what we just did about an hour ago. As mentioned in the past videos, each Palpatine fight through the trilogies got lamer and lamer. While I do prefer the quick and not so mundane method of bringing down Palpatine here compared to the repeatable waves from Return of the Jedi, the Emperor just never truly feels like a threat through the Skywalker Saga. We're down to the final 5 levels of both this video and this ranking series. Thanks so much for all your support through all of these, and as always, let me know how you felt about each level in the sequel trilogy. I honestly felt that this was the worst of the 3 trilogies in the game, which certainly wasn't aided by the lackluster plots seen in The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker. Be sure to give me your thoughts, and let's get into these last 5 levels. Number 5, Destroying Starkiller. The sequel trilogy did something none of the other trilogies seemed to do, and that was cover more than one sequence in a single level. This mission covers both the Resistance's assault on Starkiller Base and the battle between Finn, Rey, and Kylo Ren. There isn't really much about Poe's attack on Starkiller that stands out, or feels better than how it was done in the Force Awakens game. On the other hand, I was impressed with the handling of the lightsaber fight against Kylo. Both Finn and Rey wield Luke's saber against the newest Sith, and do so utilizing their hero and scavenger class abilities, as neither can use the Force yet. I like the way this fight and the characters were handled, and wish we could have gotten versions of Rey and Finn with the saber that weren't a part of the Jedi class. Number 4, No Smoke Without Fire. Much like the battle against Grievous and Revenge of the Sith, a lot of the fight was made by the environment and the little animations placed within. The developers did a good job of paying attention to the movie fight, copying the order the guards were dispatched, the weapons that they used, and how they were beaten. A lot of these animations and fights were exceptionally well handled here, and it certainly deserves praise on part of the praise the scene received. There's a lot of things I can and will shit on about The Last Jedi, but this fight is not one of them. Number 3, Dameron's Defiance. And so marks the final space mission of our LEGO Star Wars level list. This ends up playing much like a capital ship battle as Poe goes head-to-head with the First Order and their Dreadnought. It's a fun mission, and I love being able to take control of Poe's X-Wing, as I really like the design that they made for his initial black and orange ship. There isn't too much that feels too unique about this level, and again, I'm not so sure you can actually fail the protect part of the mission, taking away a lot of the level's tension. Still, it's a fun space level, and I've certainly enjoyed playing it. Number 2, The Strength to Do It. I mentioned in the last ranking video that each trilogy had one lightsaber battle that really stuck out to me in this game as the clear-cut best. The prequel had Obi-Wan's duel with Anakin on Mustafar, the originals had the battle between Luke and Vader on Bespin, and the sequels have the battle between Rey and Kylo on the ruins of the Death Star 2. The scenery, the environmental factors and obstacles, the chase and little added animations, everything about this level was handled so well, and actually managed to turn a pretty basic lightsaber duel from the film into a pretty epic battle. I just love the way that the game handles this fight, and it certainly reached a point where I found the fight within the game far more memorable than the battle from the movie. And finally, number 1, Starkiller Queen. I'm gonna feel really old saying this, but for those that played Batman Arkham City back in 2011, one of my all-time favorite boss fights from that game, and that series as a whole, is the battle with Mr. Freeze. Never did I think that I'd ever see something similar play out in a LEGO game, especially LEGO Star Wars. Captain Phasma can't be attacked directly, and players have to sneak around her and use certain items within the environment to harm her. My only issue is the same I had with many of the levels in this game. It just felt too short. This level easily could have required players to have to sneak around and stealthily hurt Phasma 4 or 5 times, and I still would have loved it. It's a cool mechanic to see added to the game, and was a creative change up to the usual boss fight we did through this game so far. We finally wrapped up our level rankings for both the sequel trilogy and LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga as a whole. I'm still currently playing through the game and wrapping things up, but I'm planning on coming back with a review and final thoughts on this game for next weekend, which should wrap both the month and our time with the newest LEGO game. Like I said before, be sure to let me know which levels you liked and disliked through the sequel trilogy. Thanks so much for watching this and the other LEGO Star Wars ranking videos, and I'll see you guys next week for our final review and video for LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga.